Morning everybody, so something a little bit different today for the channel. I'm just going to walk you through a little vlog. So I'm going to go to Eden Grange for a live match. I went there last week and basically I came fourth, got everything wrong, fished the wrong bait, wrong depths. Hadn't been to the venue for a very long time. It was my first sort of match of 2025. So all I'm going to do today is I went for a little session yesterday to try and work out and put some wrongs right. So what I'm going to show you today is, if them things that I learnt yesterday are actually correct. So I'll obviously show you my peg when we get to the venue, hopefully a bit of the draw, and then I'll film some fishing through the day so that you can see whether my plan actually worked out. So here we are at the lovely Eden Grange. This is Hackworth Lake. So this is just a little lake, mainly stocked with carp ranging from £1 to about £3. Some nice tension here as well, odd little chub. And there used to be a few eyed, but they don't seem to have showed. So, as I said earlier, last week I drew peg 18, which I think is that one over there, and I got it completely wrong. So I fed far too much bait and I think I fed the wrong bait. So I came back yesterday and fished micros and expander, and it was a lot better. So I'll walk you around there and I'll show you what I did last week and what I did yesterday, which made a massive difference. Whether it'll work today, we'll wait and see. Normally on this lake, the better pegs are sort of peg 4 here. So if you look across the lake where that bin is on the fence end, normally from that bin, 3 pegs on the far bank, which the last peg is 24. So normally the good pegs are 23, 22, 21 and sometimes 20. And then on this bank, pegs 4, 3 and 2. What's been happening recently is, with all this cold weather, basically the fish have gone into these reeds. So just walk you down to peg 1, because this peg's won the last 3 or 4 matches. If you can just see that bunch of reeds here, been catching dobbing along them reeds. It's as if all the fish have gone for cover. It's the only bit of cover really on the lake. The rest of the lake's pretty bare. So this will definitely be a good draw today, peg 1. And fishing along them reeds. The pole limit on here is 11 metres, so you can't get far along them reeds really. You can see actually, I've just seen a bit of movement in the reeds there. I'll just walk you around. So yeah, the fish sit in these reeds and you can just dow across from that peg. So this will be, I think, the favoured draw, the best peg on the lake today. But what I think's been happening lately is the pegs that I just mentioned, sort of 2, 3, 4 and pegs 23, 22, 21 used to be the better area. I think with all the rain we've had and all the cold weather, so the rain's gone to the bottom and we've had some nice sunshine over the last couple of days, well, last week really. And then what I think is that the top end of the lake up here is the shallow end of the lake, and what I think's happening is the fish are moving out of that deeper water, which these pegs here are the deepest pegs, 20, 21, 22. I think the fish have moved up the lake into the middle of the lake and into the top end of the lake where it's shallow. So what I did last week was on peg 19, sorry, I said 18 earlier. This is the peg I was on. And what I did is I started short on pellets, top kitten 2, and I caught a few fish. And then I switched to maggots, and I think that was the mistake that I made. So when I came back yesterday, I sat on this peg and I fished 2 lines. So 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, just with micros and expander. And I caught really well in 3.5 foot. The full depth of the lake's between sort of 4.5 foot. So I think the depth is critical, 3.5 foot, because of that rain going in and then the sunshine. So the fish are moving closer to the bank, where normally they sit down the middle of the lake. But on this peg as well is just slightly to your right, there's a bar at 3.5 foot as well. It sort of comes out the 4.5 foot and there's like a little bar. So I caught there as well, basically in 3.5 foot with micros and expander. So the plan of attack today, no matter where I draw, other than peg 1, I'll just be fishing micros and expander on 2 lines, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and literally rotate them 2 lines, because what I found is you can't catch 2 fish off the same line. You've got to sort of feed 1 line, catch a fish, sprinkle some micros on the other line, and then the line you've come off, basically feed that, fish the other line, and just rotate them 2 lines, putting a little bit of bait on the line you're not fishing, and then hopefully getting a bite on the line you've caught on, moving to the other one, leave some bait on the line that you've just caught a fish off, catch another one off that line, and just rotate and bounce them 2 lines. So hopefully that plan works today. So we're going to go at the draw now, see where I draw. I'd love peg 1, to be honest, but if I don't, that is going to be my plan of attack. Micros and expander, top kitten 1, 2 lines, and 3.5 foot. And if the fish back off, all I'll do is I'll put another section on. I'll go a little bit wider in my peg so I can still in that 3.5 foot and just start again. So as I say, we'll go at the draw and let's see exactly what happens today. So we're on our peg and I've drawn 18, which is 1 peg off where I drew last week and 1 peg off where I fished yesterday. So what I found out yesterday was that basically if you feed every 2 minutes, 10 or 15 micros every 2 minutes, and then rotate them lines, fishing an expander, just being really patient. It takes about 3 feeds generally to get a bite, and then you've got to you know, feed again. So if I'm not a bite within 2 minutes, sprinkle another 10 or 15 in. Normally takes 3 feeds to get your first bite, and then just keep rotating them 2 lines. So you'll see that on the camera. I'm going to set the camera up so you can see me fishing. Won't actually be any commentary on it, but I'll do some talking over for the film. So wish me luck. I'm just going to turn this camera around and just show you the peg in a little bit more detail. So this is the peg 18, and basically I've set up a line just in line with that tree, sort of. There's a hole here in front of the peg where everybody fishes, and I never like fishing in that hole, so I've just come out of the hole slightly to the left, top kitten 1, 3.5 foot, and then just in line with the post between the 2 vans here, 3.5 foot, and then I've also plumbed up an extra section. It's exactly the same depth, just in case the fish back off. I've just got to go a little bit wider in my peg, sort of to the end of this fence. So literally from here to here, same depth. And then on this side, I've done exactly the same. Basically just plumbed up a line so I can go a little bit further out. And then in front of me here, just where Colin is, there's a bar. And it's like 3.5 foot deep, the bar. I've got 2 lines. I've got 1 in line with the corner of the building here. And then I've got another one, which is in line with that white sticker here. So I'll just move my finger so it focuses. But it's the same depth, 3.5 foot there, 3.5 foot there at 11 metres. So that's the maximum pull limit on here. So a very simple match, just rotating 2 lines short, here and here, early in the match. When they dry up, go along and rotate 2 lines long, and that's basically it. So very, very, very simple. Just make sure that you got my bait earlier. So micros, fishery micros here, formal expanders. I've got some 6s, but 4s have definitely been better. And then I have some maggots if I need them, and that's it. Andy's taking the mick there.
He's gonna get smashed up.
The Matrix dwarf there. He beat me last week, and he was on this peg, and I was on peg 19, which is the empty peg here. And he smashed me up, caught 2 lucky fish at the end, but I'll give him that one. Let's hope I can beat him today. Follow me through the match, and then I'll see you at the end.
Fishy, fishy.
We're gonna need it. So as you can see, I start on my short lines, fed a little bit of bait on my left hand line, and then switched to my right, tapped a bit of bait in, and then literally been sitting waiting for 2 minutes, then tapping a bit more bait in and see if I can get a response. No bites at all, so I rotated these 2 lines for the first 30 minutes, not a sign on either line. You know, probably only fed, I would think, 50 micros in the first half an hour. Just rotating these 2 lines, hoping to get a response, but it seemed that the overnight frost, real hard frost, and there was a chill in the wind as well, it put the fish off, and I just felt like they'd backed off back to the middle of the lake. But again, I was always thinking about that 3.5 foot of depth, which I had on the bar, so same depth. I had short, I had long at 11 metres on the bar. So after the 30 minutes and rotating these lines a couple of times, it was time to go out long and see whether I could get a response. So on my second feed on my long line, I got my first bite. It was a £2 common. So we're about 40 minutes into the match now, and it was quite apparent that, as suspected, the corner pegs were where the majority of the fish were. So Bill in the bottom corner on peg 1, he'd had 3 or 4 fish. The guy opposite him on 24, both sort of fishing to that reed bed that I mentioned earlier, he'd had 3 or 4 fish. And then the guy to my right in the top corner at the shallow end of the lake that I mentioned, a lot warmer up that end of the lake, obviously with the water being shallow as well, it just warms up that bit quicker. And he was catching, he'd probably had the best start, he'd probably had 5 or 6 fish by this point. But it was good to get a sign and a fish off that long line. Gave me a little bit of hope. As you can see, I kept feeding them short lines, just putting a few micros on each, just in case the fishing did pick up. There may have been a few fish to get caught, so I kept topping them lines up every now and again, just with a few micros. Not every ship in and out, but probably every third ship in and out, just kept putting a little bit of bait on them. Not a lot, probably 10 to 15 micros on each line. And then obviously going back out long. So I struggled on fishing these two long lines, just getting a very odd bite, feeding them 10 micros every couple of minutes, just trying to suck them fish into your peg, just trying to get a response. I felt that pellets was definitely the right choice. People had fished maggots around me in the middle of the lake. Ian next to me, he had 8 fish when I caught this next fish, which was my 10th carp with an hour to go. But other people in the middle of the lake were on 3 and 4 fish, some people only having a couple of fish. The corners had dominated as I expected, so Bill had caught well but small stamp fish when it came to the weigh, and I didn't realise. The guy on peg 24, a bit of controversy really, because he'd fished 14.5 metres to the reeds and it's an 11 metre pole limit, but you know, hey ho, it's only a small little fishing match. There's only 12 of us on that day, so he won the match with £46. And Dave the Paste in the top corner, he'd had a real good start and caught steady all day really. He ended up with £45. And at my 14 fish, I got another 4 fish in the last hour, went £27.4 and stuck me 3rd place, which I was really happy with considering where I'd drawn, middle of the lake, cold wind. Everybody else, you know, was lucky if they had £10. Some people had 2 fish for £2 or £3. So I felt like my tactics were absolutely spot on. Definitely feeding pellets, you know, the fish are waking up now. Definitely responding to pellets, you know, the guy in the top corner actually caught on pace, believe it or not, but so it just shows that they're wanting that bit of protein. So just a quick mention of the rigs, because I didn't go through the rigs, but I set up 4 rigs. Mainly only used one all day, so I set up a dobbin rig, a shallow rig and a 4x10s light maggot rig with a bulk and 2 droppers. But the rig that I actually caught on and the one that I used 95% of the day was a 4x12 RW solid bristled maggie, a 1.5mm. Something perfect for when you get that little bit of breeze, not dead fine like the winter maggies, because the lake does tend to tow a bit. And I shotted that with probably not what you would expect as a soft pellet rig, but with a bulk and 2 droppers. Sometimes I'll fish a bulk and 1 if I want to make that rig positive, but with the bulk and 2 I just keeps that bulk a little bit further away from the fish. And that was basically the perfect rig in that 3.5 foot, with that little bit of breeze that kept getting up every now and again. A couple of number 8 back shot, and then I used 011 to a 16 F1 pellet hook, something a little bit light so that when they're sucking that expander in, the weight of the hook isn't too heavy. So if you've enjoyed this little vlog, I'd appreciate if you could give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the Cooper's Commercial Match Angling YouTube channel. I'm going to try and get it going again, hopefully do a few more of these vlogs and create some more content for you. So thanks for watching and hope I'll see you soon. You video on it as well? 27.4, well done. Yeah.